Welcome to The Story Tinker, a Webtoons and Witcher podcast for superfans with scene-by-scene analysis. Featuring sharp co-hosts for a fuller picture, we dive deep into character psychology, relationships, and theories. We'd love it if you could like, subscribe, comment, and rate us on all podcast platforms and social media. For bonus content, you can support The Story Tinker on Patreon. Let's begin. Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Tiger Pops Analyzing Midnight Poppyland. So just to recap from episode 1, in episode 1, Poppy walks in on her boyfriend cheating on her, goes out, takes the scooter, gets into an accident, has a bit of a breakdown. Tora is going to rescue his friend, somebody, Goliath, at the Moonbright train station, and he sees and hears Poppy, and he is totally taken aback by her. Okay, so he sees her walking past, looking very, very sorrowful. You can see she's close to tears as she's walking out. And he kind of Lily zoomed in. Again, this is where Lily is using her expert videography skills. You know, he sees her from afar, and then it's another closer up shot of her. Which to me shows that he's concentrating really intently on her and what he sees. Yeah.
Which I feel really funny, given the fact that she's not paying attention to him at all. She's in days that she doesn't even see him. Because when I first read this episode, I was like, how does she not see him? He's literally in this bright ass red car. And he's just sitting there, and he's not a small guy. No. So, I mean, she really has to be in such a distraught place that she doesn't even see him at all.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And here he's starting to light his cigarette again, right? Which is his typical refuge. And then he sees, Poppy turning around and have this meltdown at her scooter and just kicking it and calling it a jerk too. Right after she kicks this scooter, she sobs and she grabs a hold of the scooter wheel and cries and she apologizes to the scooter. So Poppy is a sweetheart. She's a really nice person.
And it's really funny, in this short amount of time that Tora has been watching her, he's actually seeing so much of who she actually is. She goes from, being this person that's just so distraught and just upset and beside herself. And then she turns around, gets angry, kicks the damn scooter. And then she goes back and is like, no, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So you can tell so much about a person when they're doing that with an inanimate object.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Poppy has a real tender soul. And she's going away, totally does not see Tora in the background. His face is turned toward her as she's walking past him. He's, watching her. And he's actually starting to light his cigarette, but he is so enamored by Poppy, he burns his finger.
And I never noticed that until someone had mentioned that later on in a thread when I was reading it. I was like, wow, this guy's, he burns himself, so he's not paying attention to what he wants, what he was thinking about, because he's super consumed with her, which I think kind of segues into the whole what's going to happen to his. She's maybe the center, or he's going to be so focused on her and what needs to be done because she's going to be connected to him in this way that she has no idea about, maybe. So yeah.
And literally, how is that going to burn him?
Yeah. Oh, that is so good.
Right.
Hopefully not too bad, because
yeah, poor guy.
We're going to go a little symbolic here. Tora smoking, right, is something that he does. It's an unhealthy coping mechanism for dealing with his stress, right? So him burning himself on in the act of doing something that is really not the best way of coping with the stress, and because of Poppy, it could symbolize, and we're total tinfoil hat theory people here, that Poppy is going to be the catalyst to get him to stop using unhealthy coping mechanisms, and it will be painful at first. It will burn him at first, but it's ultimately for a better end to get him.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's a good take. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if Lily intended it, but it's there, and we're going with
it. Hey, she leaves it for us. One of the things that I love about Lily is that she's very intent on not interrupting what our read is of the episode. Unless it's something really egregious and not something that she intended at all. For the most part, she doesn't want to interrupt the reader experience and how we can dissect it 10 ways to Sunday.
Yeah. And that we can maybe draw our own conclusions until she clarifies it for the next episode, which is really great too. A really strong point on her end as a storyteller.
Right. And one of the things that Lily talks about a lot, that she's an intuitive storyteller. And she says that she kind of writes with her intuition. And I think that people like that, I know that whenever we write, some of the commenters on Patreon write these really long comments, she tends to say, oh, you bring out things I didn't think about. And I don't think that's, I think that when Lily writes, she uses her heart to write, and like she said, her intuition. And we're bringing out the things that she kind of subconsciously puts in, we're bringing it out to the forefront. And we're bringing it into the consciousness with our words and our analysis. I do think she puts stuff in there that she may not even recognize herself because she's so intuitive.
And one of the things about Lily Dust too is just because of her commitment to her fans, and she takes in the feedback. If those who may be listening in the future are part of her Patreon, they'll understand that she really does appreciate, she appreciates what her readers have to say, so long as it's, respectful and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, this is a place to really like fangirl on Lily again, because she interacts with her fans so much on Patreon, and she she loves all our comments, and she writes the funniest things. And oh my gosh, she adds so many details. This is the reason that I go back to her. I've gone back to Patreon all the way from the beginning, and I'm going through them because she's provided so much background character analysis and depth, and more explanations in the Patreon, sometimes within the comments. And I don't want to miss any of that, so I go back and I read them.
Yeah, I've since joining Patreon in May, and having had the opportunity to read through all of her posts and the comments that everyone has added, and her comments too. It's just I just got sucked into this warp zone of MPL times 25,000, and it's not going to stop. But sorry, to go back to Tora. Now he's seen Poppy leaving the bushes. She's gonna take care of herself in the bathroom. Now he's trying to figure out where Goliath is, and then he comes across these papers scattered all over the place that Poppy was in, and Goliath's chocolate bloody shoe.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're assuming it's Goliath.
Yeah,
we don't
know whose it is.
Oh yeah,
that's a good point.
You're right. We don't know. Oh gosh.
Right. He picks up her papers, right? And some of them are her papers, right? Filet Mignon, Tar research paper. What is this? And he sees someone calling him. Now, this is another interesting thing. Somebody's calling him on his phone. It says Ronzo with a picture of a monkey and a headphone. But we're listening to LadyLibris. This guy's name is not Ronzo, and we're gonna talk about it when we get to that episode where they mention it. But his name is not Ronzo, and we're gonna have to figure out. We still don't know, even all the way up by episode 38. We don't know why he calls this guy Ronzo. So on the phone, right? Tora tells not Ronzo. Okay, his name is 𝗪𝗪. We'll tell you his name. But Tora tells 𝗪𝗪 it's Goliath, and his immediate reaction is Goliath, that little double-crossing bitch. Again, okay, so Goliath has double-crossed him, and this guy, and he's like, "You're kidding? You're still in contact with him?" And he's done something bad enough that 𝗪𝗪 thinks that Tora would never talk to him again. And then Tora here has a flashback. Someone else want to talk about the flashback?
So one of the things that I first noticed whenever we saw this panel was, and trust me, before they went into the Zoom later on in the episode, I zoomed in on that picture. I was like, that's gotta be Tora. Like, I love pulling apart these episodes and looking at these little Easter eggs, and I'm like, what is up with this? And you can tell just by the hair and the face shape, like that's got to be Goliath, because his hair's not black, so it can't be Tora. And it looks like he's getting ready to double cross Tora and the rest of the clan. Like he's wanting to get his way out of whatever trouble he's gotten himself into, and he's selling his buddies out for it.
Mm-hmm. And you also see when Goliath is on the phone, he has sweat marks on his face, which shows it's not a move that he takes lightly. This is something that is a serious move to him, and he 100% feels regret and shame about doing this.
Yeah, and the photo of the two of them, as you can assume or infer, that their relationship goes way back. They look like little punks skateboarding, and Tora already has a tattoo on his neck, so we don't know yet what that tattoo symbolizes, but I guess both of them had this relationship and their connection to whatever it is that they became a part of at a really early age, and Goliath is gonna sell his friend out, even though they've had that relationship for a really long time.
Right. That picture that we see of them, Tora has an arm around Goliath, which is pretty close. Tora, let's see, is a pretty guarded person and prickly, and he doesn't let people into his inner circle. Really. Like he trusts Goliath at that moment, and that's what makes it a little more heartbreaking. Another thing you see, Goliath is either seems to be younger than him, or just possibly much shorter, but I think he's a little bit younger than him.
Yeah, that seems like a very little bro pose.
Yeah,
Goliath's. I could tell right away that I didn't like Goliath because his screenshot on Tora's phone was him looked like he was sunbathing. So that was such a douchey thing. He looked like a douche already without even Lily Dust saying that he was like, this guy's no good. In my opinion, but I just go back and then you'll see ew, who does that? And only a self-absorbed person could post that of themselves and think it was good.
Yeah, he's a little flashy. He has a flair for the dramatics, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We'll actually see that later. I remember there's another pose later over this thing cool that does look like he's alone to that admiration.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tora's flashback, we see here, right, Goliath sells him out, and then Tora, it looks like he's captured by some police. They're pointing their gun at him. They're saying, get down, kid, right? It's a little bit, get down now. It's like blurry, right? He's remembering this scout. And Goliath has done this to enable his criminal record to be removed from the system. So, right, he does look like he wants to get out of whatever criminal activity he's part of, but the fact that he's now asking Tora to rescue him and he has to save him, people are going to kill him, whatever he tried wasn't working. Didn't work for him.
The other thing caught in this part of the episode, and it just now came to me, is these police that are arresting Tora in this part of the episode. These are not standard block cops.
No,
these look like SWAT. That makes me wonder, what kind of organization is he in that they got to bring in SWAT-like police?
That's a good point. I want to know how he got out of the situation that he was in, though. It was just like, whoa, what did somebody up in the ranks get him out of that? How does Tora manage to get out of these situations, or maybe not?
Right, that's a huge thing. We still don't know. We're up to episode 38, and there's a few clues dropped throughout the next few episodes that give us indication to maybe what Tora could have done that he's not in that police custody anymore. But we don't know yet for sure. We still don't know. And we're not going to discuss the theories yet. We'll discuss it as we get to it.
Yeah,
100%. This is a huge question for us. And he's captured in this kind of warehouse, and it's a really like a painful image. He's this mighty strong man is bent over double, and his hands are behind his back, and he's being handcuffed, and his hair is all over his face. So he's totally lost control over here, and he's gone, he's captured. And you can imagine the emotional pain that he went through for his own friend bringing him to this situation.
Yeah. Okay.
And right. So Lily, again, with her expert, I'm going to call it videography skills, because I don't feel like a better term. She focuses on Goliath and depicting Tora, that picture of them when they were teenagers, just to show really hammer it home his betrayal of somebody that was so close to him.
One of the things I want to point out about this picture, notice the bracelet is there, the ring is not. Yeah, and of course we'll find out later what those mean, but just want to point that out early on.
Right.
I didn't notice that before.
Yeah. Wow. And Tora has a necklace here. I don't know if that's significant. So far, I don't know of any significance to the necklace, but there is a necklace he's wearing, so we may as well be obsessed and notice that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing. Tora has dyed his hair over here, right? Tora has black hair naturally, and Lily actually confirmed this on Patreon.
Yes.
So he has dyed his hair over here. Somebody mentioned a potential reason he may have dyed his hair a lighter color than his original hair. I don't know if we should give it away here.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the clan that he's a part of, the 𝗏𝗏 clan, is run by people who are blonde, and this clan is blonde. So they were thinking, someone on Patreon, I think, commented that maybe Tora dyed his hair blonde as a desperate attempt as a desperate attempt to fit in and to become part of a family.
Mm-hmm. Well, and part of me also wonders, why did he grow his hair out? Because he's very short-haired in this photo right here, and his hairstyle looks almost identical to Goliath's, which is kind of hilarious to me. and now obviously his hair is much longer, and he's gone back to his natural hair color. So I love the aspects of what you're saying, Mindy, about him trying to fit in or finding a place to be in the world.
There's also in Patty and Mindy the excellent points regarding Tora and his hair and fitting in, but also the issue of self-care. I know LadyDusk had mentioned in Patreon that he's kind of a low maintenance guy, and so people thought that him having long hair was kind of a high maintenance thing. But she's like, he hasn't gotten a haircut in over a year from her author's perspective. So I guess I prefer him with his sexy long black hair, but maybe when he was younger and he identified himself as a street punk. Kids go through phases. They either want to be red haired one minute or blue haired the next, or what have you. And so maybe he was just going through these emotions and these phases in life and trying to change and fit in, as Mindy had pointed out. And who knows? I'm just speculating.
Right, that's interesting. I did see what Lily said, that he doesn't give himself a haircut, and tying into what you said about self care, I think that's very accurate. When somebody takes care of their hair, that shows they take care of themselves. It's a huge part of like how you present yourself to the world, and maybe he doesn't think he deserves it, to give himself a haircut and to look nice. Let's it go.
Yep.
Much to our benefit with his long sexy hair.
That's right. Okay, so my husband does not have long hair, and when he was a teenager, he had long hair like down to his butt, and I didn't know him back then, but I begged him all the time to grow his hair, and he doesn't do it. Can you believe it? He has autonomy. He likes his hair the way it is, but I'm constantly begging him to grow his hair out, and I'm like, it's quarantine, we're not going out anyway. Who cares?
Oh my goodness.
Right. And the funny thing is, he's blonde, and I've always been into blondes, and I'm like, black hair is looking worse than me. He actually he was like 17, and he was a goth teenager, so he had long black hair. He dyed it black. His grandmother, he's Dutch, right? So they're all blonde over there, and his grandmother was like, hair, beautiful blonde. But anywho, so now I have blonde, I don't have the long. So
yeah, I'll never do that either. My husband is former military, and so he never left the military haircut. He it. So I'm screwed there. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, so I have gotten him to concede. He does have enough hair that it like falls over his eyes, which as a 90s girl, that's like the requirement for like romantic partner. It has to fall over his eyes. He has enough.
Yes.
So we can all envision, at least I'm sadly not married, but we can all hope that our husbands, or future husbands at least in my case, can have some sort of Tora-esque like quality.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Another thing, my husband is 6'4", and I mentioned that Tora is 6'3", and he's like, yeah, and he's like, oh, okay, call him a midget. I'm like, okay. I'm constantly trying to like, no, Tora works out. Mm-hmm. And like, my husband does not work out. He's like plastic beard guy, unfortunately.
Tora.
Yeah,
oh my god.
Freaking blonde. And I always say he has a great body, and if he would work out, he would look amazing. Because he's broad shouldered, narrow waisted, and he's gorgeous legs. Anywho.
It suddenly turned into a husband fangirling session.
Hey, that's what we need right now. That's what we need in this current situation. But I mean, right now, Tora is holding the Filet Mignon research chart and is questioning what the heck is this, and then he kind of draws conclusions that, oh gosh, this girl might be involved or might not, because she was holding a bag that might contain the documents that Goliath may have had possession of that could basically put these people like Chief Schuster behind bars or something. So it's very incriminating. And and he hangs up on Ronzo or Gayu. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I guess I really liked how LadyDusk had mentioned that there had brought their relationship early on in the beginning in episode 2, because you can see that Tora turns to Gayu for the background IDing for Poppy, and just he turns to him for help, and it doesn't look like he has anyone outside of 𝗪𝗪 to do that. I mean, his relationship to the other people and his illegal in his whatever job he's in, it seems like they're taking from him, and this is like a mutual relationship that he has, even if it seems as though 𝗪𝗪 is kind of like gets stepped on by Tora, but I think it's natural for anyone to be in Tora's circle because he's such a big imposing figure.
And kind of piggybacking off what you're saying, and obviously this is somebody that he's fairly close to, because he doesn't the type who would just pick up the phone for anybody. But one of the things I noticed with Tora the second time around when I was reading this, Ronzo is in the background just, shooting off at the mouth like, good, I'm glad he's possibly, killed by his own clan. And like, you just see this look in Tora's eyes. Like, he kind of gives side eye, and then he kind of goes blank. And I'm wondering if like the wheels are turning in his head, not only what he's investigating, but I wonder if the reason he hung up on Ronzo here is he just straight up doesn't want to listen to this talk. He doesn't want to think his friend is dead. Because even if he betrayed Tora, I can't see Tora wanting him dead.
No, that's a really good point. And that just shows like Tora is a very loyal person, and once he loves someone, once he gets in a relationship with someone, he's with them forever. Which actually is another thing that I'm curious about. This is a little bit going out of this, but I'm very curious about how it's so hard not to talk about like things that are in the future. Okay, so Tora is in this clan, right? And he does want to get out, but I'm very curious about, since he has this strong relationship with clan leader, we're going to talk about that in different episodes. I'm wondering how he'll be able to get out emotionally, because he probably has feelings of love, even for the people who were terrible to him. So this is something I'm very, very curious about, how he'll manage to get out while still, preserving the feeling connection that he has, even recognizing that it's an unhealthy connection sometimes, or most of the time. But there must be some elements that would probably still tie him there.
Patty had mentioned and Mindy, we were talking about loyalty and the ring when he picks up the Filet Mignon research star. I feel like Lily does kind of highlights the ring, not so much, but it's there. It's now in that photograph flashback. He wasn't wearing it, and that didn't cross my mind, Patty, until you had mentioned it. So there's just a lot of symbolism I feel going on with the phone call he had with Ronzo, and Ronzo bashing Goliath, and him maybe dismissing Goliath's what he was saying, and just kind of trying to put the pieces together. And now I feel like it's just a can of worms have just been opened up.
Right. And if you think about it, Tora doesn't strike me the type of guy, if we're talking about the self-care aspect of it, he doesn't strike me as the type of guy who accessorizes.
No.
So wearing have to mean something. And if you think about it, the ring is very symbolic of an attachment.
Right.
And so this, we're obviously not far enough along to really know what that attachment means. But to me, it's highlighting that there's some connection there, some meaningful connection that he has, and we just don't know the quality of that connection as yet.
Right. So this page that Tora has picked up, right? This page has some incriminating information on it, and then Tora recalls he was looking around for the rest of it. He doesn't see anything else, and he recalls that Poppy had this briefcase, right? And he kind of like zooms in on it in his mind, with a bunch of papers in it. So he assumes that Poppy has the rest of the information, right? Which is, Tora is a clever guy. This is something that I've discussed and I've thought about extensively. Trying to figure out who Tora is and his psyche. But Tora is a guy who can gather. He's very observant, and we're going to see. Oh my gosh, he's super observant. He remembers everything, especially in last night's episode. But he all the way to 38. But Tora remembers things. He pieces together, and he's really smart guy. So anyway, Poppy's here in the bathroom, trying to convince herself that what she saw was chocolate and not blood. Her shirt is ripped open, and she
She's cleaning herself up in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Trying to dismiss the chocolate bloody shoe. And as Mindy had mentioned, Patty had said her avoidance tactics, and Mindy her wanting to just compartmentalize things. Like, okay, I'm not in the mental state to deal with something like that after getting into an accident, literally a bump in the road. And now she's just trying to figure out it's time for me to get home. The train's going to come, and there's only one train going out each day from the country and Moonbright to Nairn. So she's trying to get in and get out to avoid also Jewelry from episode 1 who basically betrayed her. And so she's wanting to move, just get back to the city, go back to her life and get back to the grind, because it seems like she works really hard. All those research papers that she had that were flown all over the grass. It's just she had a lot going on, and who knows how Tora's going to be connected with some of those research in the next episode.
Yeah, she is super freaked out right now, and I don't blame her for wanting to just wash everything off and call it a day and go back home, go back to security.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So she's tying her shirt up, right, and hoping that this will last. She's trying, she starts thinking about Jewelry cheating on her again, and she's like, I can't think about it. I, have to do this article by tomorrow again, like what you said, avoidance. She's dismissing it out of her mind so that she can live her life and do what she needs to do. Very strong person. Lily shows her marching out of the bathroom. Her back is up, straight. She's able to overcome her feelings in order to do what she has to do. Now, Tora goes to the train station. I actually have an interesting. I was wondering why he didn't look around for Goliath more, in the bushes or like around that area. Why he didn't like drive around looking for him.
Right. I guess he knew.
I
guess he knew that. Okay, those papers are like the thing that I really, because as you had mentioned, Mindy, he's very observant, and when he has his eyes, all right, when his focus is set on something, I feel like he doesn't stop. He's just driven to get it done, and so he knew. I'm like, okay, I need to retrieve whatever papers Poppy may or may not have. So I'm going to go straight to the station. Goliath seems like he's nowhere in sight apart from the shoe that may or may not have been his. So it's like, where do we? I'm just going to go to the train station, and then he meets that. And Lily talks about this. The woman at the train, the ticket clerk. I know what she represents in terms of Tora's social circle, and as you had mentioned, Mindy, his social status and how people perceive him. And if you could, I would really like for Patty to kind of discuss what the ticket clerk lady represents to Tora.
But before we even get to the ticket clerk, I just want to point out, you see how people react to Tora.
Yeah,
like the people who are standing in the station, they have sweat marks, they have blush marks. They look very fearful of Tora. And this is clearly like the attitude that Tora puts out to the world. People are intimidated by him. And this will definitely tie into, you'll see in later episodes, he does not like that. He's something he's cultivated and he's had to develop because of his work, but he resents that that's who he is now and that that's how he presents, and he's ashamed of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go into his interaction with the ticket clerk. You can definitely take that over, Patty.
Yeah. So the ticket clerk, one of the first things that struck me about her interaction with Tora is she does judge him at face value. She says to him, like, first of all, she's not even paying attention to him. She's on her phone. And, she's just kind of like, what do you want? What are you here for? And then she looks at him and obviously she's ogling him. Because he's very good looking. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, he looks like a Greek god.
As our friend Jacob said.
Right. And so, of course, one of the things that's interesting to me, we talked about how Tora doesn't want for people to see him a certain way. And yet he's using it here as a tool very intentionally.
Yes.
He knows and he's using it to his advantage to get information that he needs. So he is in work mode right now. He knows how to use what he has in order to get what he needs. He sees this woman who's clearly taken aback by, how he looks. She makes this assumption of, oh, you look like somebody who would have a good time, like to have a good time tonight. And I'm thinking, like, who in their right mind has the balls to say something like that to somebody like him? Because I would be twisting my words around 10 ways to Sunday. I'd be like, I'm sorry, are you talking to me? What is happening here? Clearly you have to mean someone else.
You could tell her priorities. She's not good at her job. She doesn't give a hoot. She's on her phone.
Clearly not.
So she's basically just trying to use Tora for a good time, and Tora being as smart as he is, he twists things around to his advantage, or not twist, or he's very calculating, I guess, in that respect.
Right. And one of the things to me also, just even the appearance of the clerk lady. So, she has strong lipstick on, she has nail polish on, she's wearing like a kind of a low cut top. To me, it also just shows like she's a little vain and, superficial.
Yes.
Also, she's wearing a wedding ring.
Oh my gosh! I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So something tells me that she's disingenuous from the get go. And she looks a little bit older to me, so she's playing the cougar card here.
Yeah,
or the tiger card in this matter.
Good point.
Right. Oh, guys, what do you say? Tora means tiger. Is
yes.
That means?
Yes.
Which is obviously, an indication of Tora's strength.
Yes.
And so Tora here, by the way, right? Tora, normally we don't see him smiling, but like you said, he uses his tools. He smiles at her. He like leans down. He narrows his eyes. He's just like smiling it.
Yeah. And that is not a genuine smile.
No.
So, and I know we haven't seen that yet as of this episode, but there is a marked difference between Tora's genuine smile and his sly, I'm at work and I'll manipulate you smile. And this is manipulation one. And it's clearly working.
Right. The clerk lady is blushing. She's like shocked. And, so she basically asks him, I want to, have some fun with you tonight. People behind him are like, oh, get a room, why are you bothering me? And, I want to get a ticket. What does Tora do? Stand still. He's so good at timing. Oh my gosh. He stops. He gives it a pause, right? And then he just like looks behind him with his glare. Doesn't say anything. And the guy behind him is freaked out, intimidated, and shaking and sweating. He's so good at like using his body language to express emotion.
And as Patty had mentioned, with his jacket and it's Superman in kanji, and he's maybe in Superman mode, so he's working and he's just doing what he needs to do to get things done.
So the clerk, by the way, is totally disregarding privacy and tells him where Poppy is. So actually, she first offers to give him information in exchange for his number. Tora doesn't let her get away with that. He flips the switch and he's like, actually, you tell me where she is, then I'll give you my number.
Always calculating. I love that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then what does he do? So they do some kind of, the clerk is like taken aback because, she says that he goes from casual and friendly to scary and intense just like that. Again, showing you how he's really good at manipulating and acting.
And this is, sorry, go. I'm just super excited.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, but what she was saying, how the ticket clerk lady, she used those words, scary, intense. That for readers who are new to MPL, those words they'll encounter those words again with someone else describing Tora in that same way, because they're wanting something from him, wanting him to, again. So it's just Tora always being seen in a certain way by people who are just using him essentially.
Yeah. And I think also at this point, one of the reasons why he gets that serious, intense look is that he's done playing games now. He wants the information to move on. Because if you think about it, he's only got so much time to catch Poppy. Because if he dawdles here, he's going to miss the train. He's going to miss her. And he's trying to find her. So I think, that gentleman that he just gave the death stare to, I think that was a reminder of, hey, let's get on with this.
Right. Very focused. Yeah. So anyway, and he calls her sweetheart, which again shows you he's using words again to manipulate her. He uses that a lot. And you'll see Poppy later is not like that as well. And the girl's like, the ticket clerk is all flustered. She's like, I'll tell you tonight. Oh, I'll tell you later. she can't really get her words out. Like you said, Patty, she's acting the way you would be acting. So, right. So that's over here. Like you said, he's asking Lonzo to run a background check. Mm-hmm. And he says, yes, I just need a picture. And, there should be a full front picture, of her. So Tora walks in. By the way, this is like Lily's giving us a nice body shot. Again, huge, broad shoulders, arms.
This is pure fan service, and I don't hate it.
Well, good, Mindy. Great pointing that out. And just from in terms of foreshadowing, when Gio says that we need a full body shot of the photo, we were all hoping. I hope he gets to see Poppy in her full glory, because she's also, even if it was kind of creepy in the way he took it. Sorry, that's episode 3, but
I mean, Poppy's gorgeous. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And look at her.
The two characters are well matched.
Yes, and look at her screen. You can tell, her phone cover. It's of unicorns and rainbows and magic. But she's not feeling that right now. She looks defeated, all in a sense. And he's looking like he needs to get that photo of her to get the job done, to figure out who she is, and Mm-hmm. And I guess is that towards the end? There's a comedic line with the sausage brand. Yeah. So Tora, being as clever as he is, he gives the same number over and over again. First to the ticket lady, and then in episode 3. And I'm sure you'll have a chance, Minnie, to discuss that with the other person coming in for the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually the last line here is really telling. The clerk lady's like, that jerk gave me a fake number. Did I get played? And the last line she says is, men who look like that are always trapped. Damn it. That is straight to the gut, Yeah.
And this is, yeah. I want to scroll back up just a minute to the panel where Tora is looming over Poppy. Mm-hmm. And look how Lily has divided the light and shadow in this panel. So they're both kind of half in, half out of the light. Mm-hmm. And you notice Tora's shadow looms over her. Mm-hmm. You see how despondent she is, and she's covered in shadow.
Yeah.
Right.
I loved that aspect of it.
Well, I never even realized that. That's an excellent point.
Right. And it goes back to what you were saying, and Rose, that right now she's feeling defeated and depressed. But naturally, you see her phone case, she's a happy person. She has this magic. She's innocent, she's jolly, she's sweet. Right now she's feeling very sad and down, but normally she is a happy, upbeat person.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you think about it, the shadow piece, that passes, because our shadow gets more limited as the day goes on. And it's not going to last forever. So I think, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but this isn't going to be a steady thing. She's going to be in and out of the dark and the light. Right. So I don't know. To me, that's a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And the shadow. Sorry, go ahead.
No, Mindy, you go. I feel like I've been interjecting too much. Go, please.
Okay. So, going back to, and again, maybe we're reading more into this than there is, but a shadow is a reflection of somebody. It's an exact reflection of who they are. So, the amount of shadow that you cast is based on your book or your size. So, I think that this may be harkening back to life and its ebb and flow. We're never going to be all in light. We're always going to have both light and dark, and that's just part of life. And it's what makes life fulfilling and I think enriching.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and going back to, the fact that, and this is why the podcast is just so amazing, beyond the fan girling, but the dissecting and Lily art really coming to life as we discuss this, because Patty, I never even realized that this second to last panel was just with the shadows and the light and who they are as people. And Mindy, you had mentioned that who Tora is and how Poppy is as a person, and just how these two, again, because I love Lily Dusk's opening line, how life is a series of dots, and just these together for the first time in this way. This is just the beginning of this amazing webtoon that Lily Dusk has made for us to enjoy.
Yeah, it's really cool to look back on this.
Yeah.
This was released, God, what, eight-ish months ago, if I remember correctly. It was like November, I think. And, just thinking about how far we've come and how the community has exploded and, just, this is the very beginnings of it. And it's so cool to think about.
Yes.
Okay. I think we're good for this podcast, this episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to my current patrons: Suzie, LadyLibris, Lily, Jenny, Molly, Veronica, Emily, 𝗪𝗏𝗱, 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 Anne Rose, Alexa, Misty, Joanne, Imelda, Esther, 𝗪𝗏𝗱𝗃, Emily, Jean, Jen, Erin, Kay, Lily, Beckett, Samantha, Christine, Sadie, Kelly, 𝗪𝗏𝗱, Mrs. Castaldo, Tatiana, Louisa, and Rachel. Your support is truly appreciated.